Hello, I'm Nicholas Carlomani here with some practical technology integration for busy educators. Today, I'd like to share some learning materials I've created with Keynote when I was in a hurry, and so you can see just how useful Magic Move can be. Alright, let's check it out. This first example was a part of a nature-based learning program. We were using next generation science standards and learning about invasive species. So this red egg cluster is an invasive apple snail egg cluster, and you can see that invasive apple snail, they can grow to be pretty large. So I'm mostly using real images. I found some images on the internet, and then some of them I just found transparent PNGs, other I removed the background. And you can see I can show children that a single apple snail egg cluster can lay, has hundreds of apple snails. And this is a photo I took just to show how you can imagine how many thousands and thousands. They proliferate very rapidly. They're invasive from South America, but they've gone all over North America and Asia. And so our children very visually, I just copied and pasted in bundles. I copy and paste 5 times and then select those 5, copy and paste, and then I just move them around just to very visually show that they spread very quickly, and then as they mature, they each lay their own egg clusters. And then apple snails hatch from those, and then very quickly it gets out of control. So I sped up the animations here just for this sharing presentation, but I went on to show, images of real local, some of these I actually took, and then some of them I found on the internet, just showing that local populations of frogs, shrimp, mussels, for one, they're affected by apple snails because they're voracious eaters. They really outcompete and eat a lot of the food. They also directly will feed upon the eggs of mussels, shrimp, frogs. So then they directly attack and weaken local populations. And then I spoke with children, what can we do to stop invasive apple snails? I switched over to freeform. I'll show in a separate video, but that's where I usually like to collect ideas. I'll draw, I'll write. And then after that, I showed children one common approach. We also did some internet searching together, was to use chemicals. Now this is an image I extracted the background and I just overlay it because I like to show real images. This was a bilingual environment, children aged kindergarten through grade 3, some with very low English, some fluent native speakers. So I just wanted to show that among many problems such as poisoning the water, affecting animals, but water-soluble chemicals can actually enter the water cycle. And I saw their eyes light up as they understood. So once again, this I used Apple Pencil on iPad. I just drew these, and then with iPad, it just will automatically animate like this. So very, very powerful if you have an iPad with Apple Pencil. And very, very visual for them to understand what can happen. And the same is true for glyphosate and other water-soluble pesticides. So we were thinking, okay, well, that's not a good option. What else can we do? Had the children do some more research. I helped them out with it. And then we talked about using natural tools. Perhaps will ducks eat these apple snail eggs and help fight the population naturally? So actually, first we had a hands-on experience. We were on the river. Children noticed these. We were talking about them. We came back to the classroom for this more conceptual multimedia presentation. And then after that, we had more extended learning about it, and we did an experiment. So just an example, this is something the children were very engaged. And even children with very little English, because it is so visual and easily understandable, I really curated this experience for them. So they're getting a lot of valuable language input. All right, this was a fun activity. Children, we were learning about irrigation and the history, and for example, I put this together very, very quickly. We were just talking about, historically, civilization gathered around rivers for farms, but as populations grew, how would these people in farther off places get water? Because, they don't have it. So we talked about irrigation. So this next image, so once again, I found an image with white background. I just extracted the background. And I used iPad. And with iPad, you have a lot more, intuitive control of animations. So this shovel, and I just used my Apple Pencil and I scribbled this path, and then same for the drawing effect. Very visual, very understandable. Here's another example. We were talking about nutrient cycling. And we were like, what do plants need? Okay, we know they need water. So, I just resized these images, add the arrow. So, very, very visual. And, understanding multimedia learning theory is very effective, right, for, comprehension. Okay, we know that plants need nutrients absorbed by the roots, go into the plant, and helps the plants to grow. And then, as the plants grow, animals, for example, ducks will come and eat them. And I went on, there's more stuff, but this is just an example. You can imagine very, very visual multimedia. Very simple. I mean, I make this very fast. This is when I'm in a hurry. We were talking about organic versus pesticide agriculture. And for example, that day, children were going to pick dragon fruit, and we were learning about it. And, when you spray pesticides, why is it so bad? Usually in the soil, you have beneficial microbial and fungal systems. But with a single spraying of pesticide, you can kill a lot of those. Why are they so important? Usually in healthy soil, when they're happy and they're healthy, they actually can generate a lot of nutrients. And then they transport those nutrients. Those nutrients are transported to plants. Now for these paths, once again, Apple Pencil and iPad, I just drew the paths, and it's just a very easy move animation. Very, very fast. Very visual. And then we just talked about when you have these organic and healthy soil systems, that your fruit has a lot more nutrients and beneficial plant compounds. I also went on to explain each of these. So I wanted to just quickly share a few examples of multimedia I made with Keynote very rapidly. When you get good at it, you're just duplicating slides, making changes each time, iterating upon each slide, using real images, PNGs. A lot of the time you can just find images that already don't have backgrounds. Other times you need to remove the background, and AlphaMask is pretty good at that. Great. I hope this is interesting to you. Maybe you're inspired to try one of my tutorials if you're new to Keynote, to learn how to use Magic Move and how to work with images and animations. And in my following videos, I will also share some things I've done with Freeform, another very powerful tool that you should use in your classroom if you're not, and some other apps and platforms. Great. Thanks for watching.